Coming up on the rural route, you've heard of corn mazes, but what about a sunflower trail? It's an experience that you need to have. Plus, one community is bringing back their small town with a little bit of rock and roll and a whole lot of paint. But our first stop on the rural route involves something we all enjoy looking at. It's the monarch butterfly.
You never know what you're going to get when you're on the rural route. A few years ago, I didn't even realize that the monarch butterfly was close to becoming extinct. I had my head in the clouds. I wasn't paying attention. That's until I found out that the milkweed is such a valuable plant to this creature. The butterfly lands on this milkweed. They lay their eggs, and then what happens, this is the only plant that caterpillar feeds off of. But I'm just as guilty. People have been mowing down these milkweed plants. Until, that is, I became aware, my husband and I, we stopped doing that. As you can see, we do have some milkweed that are standing behind us, and we're trying to do that so we can save the monarchs too. But I also met a couple from Paulding County, Ohio, that are doing way more than that. Let's go meet Susan and Fred Piper.
Judah. So what has happened here is that these eggs have been laid real close down here to the bottom, but there's no baby cats here. There's no little bitty cats. But this is, I think the predator has come by and gotten them. But what I like to do is, when I see a young plant, I look in these very top leaves
to see if you can find
a
egg.
baby. Oh, there's an egg right there.
That's an egg.
An instar is a stage of life, and there's 5 stages of their life. I mean, they're teeny tiny when they're born. They eat their egg, and then they're eating the milkweed, and they get a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, and then that's the first instar. And then the second, they shed their skin, and then there's the second instar, and they get bigger. They shed that skin, and the third, and then the fourth, and the fifth is the one that spins the chrysalis. So that's when he sheds his skin. And when they get ready, when they feel like they're at the point when nature tells them, they'll find a spot away from the milkweed usually, and it can be as many as yards away or feet away, to find a spot, and they crawl up on it and they hang, and they spin a little button. They spin the button, they hang, and then they'll start turning into a jay, and you'll have a lot of jays just on if you're raising them inside, a lot of caterpillars that are just hanging in the jay. And then when they're ready to spin the chrysalis, they drop down a little bit, and then they curl up tight, and then I describe it as a fat woman trying to get out of a girdle or get into a girdle. They're just, they're doing this number because what they're doing is shedding their skin, that last layer of skin. But as they're shedding their skin, the chrysalis is forming around them, and it's gorgeous to watch. And so it's spinning until it shoots it out the top. It looks like a little bit of black thing coming out the top, and then they hang there for about 21 days. It's green, but when they get close to hatching or eclosing, that it will get very, very dark, and then it'll get so translucent that you can see the wings of the monarch through it. And when it gets that translucent, I tell people just pull up a chair, pull up a dinner or something and sit there and watch it, because it doesn't take long. Once it breaks out and falls kind of backwards and it's holding on to its broken chrysalis with its legs, its body is real huge and fat and engorged, but its wings are little. So it'll sit there and it'll pump this blood that's in their body into their wings and get it bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they'll hang and dry their wings a little bit, and then the process starts all over again. If it's a male butterfly, he's going to look to find a female, and if it's a female, she's going to try to run away from the male who wants to mate with her. And that happens for 4 generations. The 5th generation, when she or he is born, they don't mate. They live the longest. It's called the Methuselah's generation. They're the ones that are going to migrate to Mexico. And they hibernate in these wonderful mountains, this beautiful forested range in the mountains of Mexico. And over the winter, they basically go dormant. And then in the springtime, they start flying north as far as they can until they find their first milkweed. That's why it's so important for the people in Texas, South Texas, northern Mexico, to plant a lot of milkweed. So these butterflies have milkweed to start. And they'll continue to fly north as long as there's milkweed, because milkweed's the only thing that they can lay their eggs on, and it just starts all over again.
What's really cool too is that most times people like do their own hobbies, but husband wife team right here.
Yeah.
You guys do this together.
Right.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
something that you
Yeah.
guys share a
Yeah.
genuine love for. Explain how that works.
Well, he basically does anything I tell him. Basically. That's the short answer. The long answer is he surprises me. I created these window cleanings that say I break for milkweed pots. I sell them for $3 a piece or give them away. And so I did that because he would be driving along and see a milkweed patch in the fall and just wonder who owns that property. You know, he'd stop to get, and he asked people, "Can we have your milkweed pots?" And they're saying,
Sure.
Yeah, okay. You know.
Okay, first you've got to locate, this is called a pod here, milkweed pod. And some are shaped a little, or they're all shaped the same, but some have more fur on them. If you have permission and see some alongside the road growing someplace, or your neighbor has some, just ask if you can have a couple pods. Doesn't take many, because that thing's filled with hundreds of seeds.
So you just tear that right off.
You tear that off, and you've got to wait, wait a little bit longer until it turns a brown color on you. And when you squeeze it, it should crack open. It's got seams on it, and that tells you it's ready to be harvested. And there's some videos on YouTube how you can get the seed out, but it is a messy process if you don't know what you're doing, because each seed is attached to a little silk, like a little feather duster, but it's a piece of silk, and that's so the milkweed seed can get distributed with the wind, you know, wherever wind takes it.
These are going to be my 12-foot high, some of them, sunflowers. And when they bloom, they'll bloom right when I need them to, because that's when the 5th generation is fixing to go to Mexico, and they're hungry, hungry, hungry. They've got to be full, and they've got to be fed all the way down to Mexico. So that's why people need to plant anything that attracts butterflies. If they're anywhere, actually, that makes for pretty yards, but the butterflies and the bees will use them. Since we couldn't get a good crop of zinnias in the ground this year, we're hoping that our butterflies will be very, very happy with our sunflowers. And not all of them made it, and I think that if a professional landscaper looked at my yard, they'd like really, you know, I'd be in trouble for planting this so close to the house just for aesthetic reasons. But I don't care, you know, you're in the country. They start kind of in Canada, southern part of Canada or northern Michigan, and the ones that I think come through here come over the Lake Erie route, like from Toronto over to Buffalo, that area, and then they come to Cleveland, because we have people on some butterfly sites that say, oh, they're in, you know, they name a city that's right close to the lake, and they say that in the fall, so they know that that's starting the migration path, and others join them as they come. Now, we have had a lot of butterflies roost in our trees, and that's I can't remember the term for it, but that's very special. We've had some people in this county who have walked back to little woods in the back of their house, and the whole ground is moving, and they look up, and this swarm of butterflies take off, and they're in migration.
Susan and Fred Piper allow several acres that they own to go wild. They call it their meadow. There's milkweed and wildflowers throughout. And Susan, wow, she has an eagle's eye for spotting newly hatched monarch caterpillars.
See it here?
That little black dot.
That just came out of its egg.
Wow.
What is
It's just that little dot to the right there.
Oh, so that's
That's a baby monarch. Just came out of its egg. Just ate its egg.
cool.
I know. It's so Well, I think that comes from, and I think when you see a child that is really inspecting under that rock. You know, there are many children that will walk past that rock, and there's that one child that will pick up the rock and look for the bugs underneath it. I was that type of child that just loved to look at the little things, and I would love to go on Sunday drives and just stare out the window, and I'd see everything. And my mother would always say, Susie, you see everything, because I comment on it. Look at that, because I'm observant. And I think a lot of folks just don't take the time, or they're busy and they don't realize that they could just slow down and look. I've always loved animals. I've always loved nature. I've always rather been outside than inside. That's why my house is usually messy, but my horse stall will be clean. I don't know where it comes from. I always want to give any of my passions or my skills, I give God the glory. I'm a strong Christian. I believe in the Lord and how He guides your life. But this monarch in particular, I don't know really why. It was something I could do. I could do this with my backyard. I could do this with our little acreage here. We could do this, and so that makes a difference. And it was easy. So I've always had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and I talk to Him all the time. And I think that people who don't have that, they lose out on the little things, because I like to come out here and be still and just find glory in His magnificent world, and the minute seed pods that I see, and the butterflies' makeup, and the milkweed, how it's the butterfly uses every part of the plant. That's by divine design. And how can you help but be closer to God when you're closer to His creatures and closer to His beauty that He created for us to enjoy? And He did create this for us to enjoy.
Still to come on Rural Route. Looking for a great place to take family photos? This sunflower trail will have people oohing and eyeing. And we'll find out how one small town in Ohio is revamping their downtown by using art. But first, let's head over to Barker Farms, where we'll find out what they're doing to help wildlife habitat.
This is one of about a dozen different places that my family has little plots that we've turned back into wildlife refuge areas. These are warm season grasses. They get huge during the summertime. When they're smaller in the spring, they're great places for ground nesting birds to make their nest, red-winged blackbirds and species like that. And then as the season goes on, they get taller and fuller. And here in another few weeks, these big things are gonna be just huge and beautiful with big blue stem and some other native grasses. You see, my family has probably 30 acres and little plots like this spread out all over the place that we've established. But the satisfying thing for me is that that's just a tiny piece of the puzzle, because in my home county here at Paulding County, Ohio, there's over 5,000 acres that's been established just like this, that once was part of production agriculture where corn and soybeans and wheat were grown, and now it's areas like this. And I think that's the important thing, that folks like me who are in production agriculture, we realize that there's a balance. As our operations get larger, as our farming operations get bigger, how do we balance that with creating habitat? Whether it's me with 30 acres like this, or if it's just the average homeowner with maybe just a few pots or a place in their garden where they do something with some wildflowers. You see, I have to admit, when I'm spraying with my big field sprayer and go through a soybean field, if I have a small area that is only milkweeds, I click a switch off and then I can eliminate spraying herbicide on just that little patch. And then I can click it back on as I pass through that area so that I don't disturb that habitat for those monarchs, because I love seeing them too. It's part of the balance, whether it's production agriculture or whether it's maybe in your own home, garden, or yard.
Still to come on Rural Route. A country drive on a back road in Michigan takes us to an unexpected discovery: a sunflower trail. But first, one community in the small town of Van Wert, Ohio, is bringing back their downtown by using art in a very unique way.
Yeah, we're in Eugene Bagley Alley. This is one of our unique alleys we have downtown. We use it for our events. We got Harvest Moon coming up September 28th. We redid this alley about a year ago. We hung some lights. Watsenberg came in and painted the floor. We painted the tables. We're looking to add it. We have our awesome flowers. The design crew picked that out, and we're looking to add some food trucks here on events and just really kind of utilizing the space. We feel like it's a pretty cool space to use. All right, so when I took the job over, Dan, the guy before me, he already applied for the Ohio Art Council grant. He applied for two murals and a bike rack. We didn't get that. We got enough money for one art mural. I extended the grant because when I got the job, it was just a lot on my plate. So I'm like, I'm just getting the job. I need to extend it. They were gracious to extend it. So I contacted the business owner. Sticky Ramel owns this building, this awesome building, a blank canvas. And we were kind of going through like who could paint the mural. We needed a great design. I said, you know what, Sticky, you go find the guy that you want. It's your building. We're gonna do this together. We're gonna do it with my board. Give me a design. And it was like it was the design he first started. I took it to the design review. The city approved it. My board approved it. And now we have this beautiful thing. So Rico, he is a tattoo artist in Fort Wayne. His waiting list for tattoos is like 2 to 3 years. So it was the right time, right place Sticky was in. And he is now he's gonna start doing a lot of murals. I think he's got 8 murals he's gonna do across the US. So he kind of started with this, and here we are. I think working with any artist or mural artist, I think you kind of got to let them flow, give a little bit of history of the Van Werts. As you can see, there's a peony on top of it. Incorporated, we are the peony capital of Ohio and really the US, so we have a great peony parade, and that's what we're known for. And then the artist in there playing the guitar, we want to be more music oriented. We have a great PAX center. Tabby Stover's doing a great job getting artists in. We wanted to incorporate that. That's a young Carlos Santana / Jimi Hendrix. That's kind of what he went off of. I think the roots is very important, as you can see in the mural. With anything you do in life, I think you got to have great roots. I think Van Wert has great roots, not only in the past, but I think the future. I think our downtown, and I think Van Wert as a whole, is ready to explode. And the roots is where you start. That's your foundation. But then you got to make sure you water those roots and really give those roots some food and energy. And we're ready to explode. We're ready to expand. And I'm just really excited about the downtown. It's going to look a lot different from now till 3 years from now. And I can't wait to see what that looks like.
Wasn't that mural just absolutely stunning? I get so excited when I see that small towns are utilizing art as a way to beautify their communities. And that right there just proves it. You know, I was really debating on whether I should even do like a little stand up here because it's humid, it's hot, I feel gross, I feel like I look gross. Actually, I do look gross, but I wanted to make sure that I made this point. Every community needs someone like Mitch. They actually need 10 people like Mitch. People that realize that there's so much more work to be done, but they're not afraid of it. They go and they dive right in. Those are the people that you need. They start small, they keep on going, and then what do they get? They get something as dynamic and as beautiful as that mural that you saw today. I would say, if you're looking to do something in your community, try doing something with art, try doing something with murals, and try retaining some young talent like Mitch. You never know what you're gonna get when you're on the rural route. It's like you're driving, you're in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, bam! Hundreds of sunflowers. And then you see the sign for the Sunflower Trail.
About 6 or 7 years ago, down at our pumpkin farm, which opens in the fall, and that's we started with just one row of sunflowers, and we thought, I thought, hey, what if people could cut their own flowers? They might enjoy that. So, I left some jars there and some scissors, and people just really seem to enjoy cutting their own. So, it's just one of those things that's grown. You know, we've been doing that, like I said, 5 or 6 years, and then so we decided, you know, last summer to come down and kind of set up throughout the whole summer instead of just the fall. So, you know, now we're operating. I think there's probably 3.5 or 4 acres here of different cut flowers, and you know, probably 50 different varieties. So, you know, people seem to enjoy it because they can go out and they can mix and match their own bouquets, and they can kind of make it how they want to make it.
When you come to the Sunflower Trail, you might expect to see these gigantic sunflowers for the trail, but it's actually quite the opposite, and honestly, probably more beautiful than you would even expect. They're actually a smaller variety with a lot more blooms on them, and they do that because they last until frost. A typical sunflower usually only lasts around 2 weeks. These will last until frost, so what that means is more time to enjoy the Sunflower Trail.
I think it's grown in popularity. I think social media has really kind of spread it out a little more. But as far as the locals, they love the. I think, you know, you just sometimes see people driving by. There's more traffic here than you would see, because I think, you know, you get a lot of people just slowing down to look, and they really like that, you know. And then you know, new this year, our Sunflower Trail has really. I think we get a lot more photographers, you know, and a lot more people that just want to enjoy the sunflowers.
So who came up with the trail idea?
So that was my thing. I'd kind of been reading, and I'm thinking, you know, we have people, you know, corn mazes have been a thing for quite a while now, and I've just been thinking that, you know, we can get probably quite a few people who would just want to, you know, it's just fun to be surrounded by plants, and then when it's something as beautiful as sunflowers, I think a lot of people have enjoyed that.
Just down the road from the Sunflower Trail is Gus Brothers Pumpkin Farm. It's a working farm that provides real-life farm experience. It's open September 9th through October 31st. While you're there, you can pick out your pumpkin, of course, but you're also going to find a whole lot more, like fall decorations, hay rides, donuts, apple cider. This cute operation is located in Ottawa Lakes, Michigan, not too far from Sylvania, Ohio. And if you're thinking you're going there just to buy pumpkins, oh, hold on. They have Amish jams, apple cider, local honey, soy candies, and even, get this, apple cider slushies. I squealed a little bit when I heard that one. And it's not just for adults. Kids are going to love this too, especially with the hay rides. And they have a small farm animal exhibit featuring cows, calves, sows, baby pigs, sheep, goats, baby chickens, bunnies, and kittens. I think I just described heaven for some kids. I will tell you, after I heard everything they have to offer, I figured out what their secret was to success. It's having an operation that has a lot of variety and diversification. Let's go check out more of Gus Farms.
You know, one of the things about 30 years ago, we started our pumpkin farm, you know, and that has just kind of slowly, you know, organically grown and has been a real nice asset for our farm. You know, we try to diversify in other things as well. So, you know, we have couple hundred acres of hay. We sell a lot of hay to, you know, people that have horses. You know, so we just try to do anything we can really to stay diversified, because, you know, in the ag economy, you know, if you're doing all of one thing, you know, and that thing is not doing well, then you know, it might be a difficult time for you. But so that was kind of part of the thought with the trail, you know, just to maybe kind of, you know, get that out to a whole different group of people that might enjoy that. And you know, it seemed to have had a pretty good response so far. You know, it's agritourism is what it is, but we have you know, a lot of variety of different pumpkins. I think we raise 35 or 40 acres of pumpkins, and I would say there's 50 or 60 varieties of pumpkins, squash, gourds, heirloom pumpkins, you know, all sorts of different things for decoration. You know, we do straw and corn shocks and, you know, Indian corn, and we do, you know, hay rides, and we have cider and donuts, and we do a lot of school tours there as well. So. So there's like 8 or 9 varieties of sunflowers here.
To me, that seems like a lot of work, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably. I think there's a lot of time that goes in the off season. And that's my wife always is on me about, like, that's my hobby, looking through catalogs, looking at different varieties. That's what I love to do. But there's a lot of planning that goes in. How much seed do you need? With the 50 different varieties of plug trays that we have, how many plug trays of each variety do you need?
When you say plug trays, what's that?
So that's a like a group of like 200 little plant starts. So we have to figure all of that stuff out. How much fertilizer, and then when you do get the crop in, you have to take care of it, obviously. So after we get everything either transplanted or seeded, there's a lot of weed control things that we have to do, and hoeing and cultivating and all of that. So we started years ago with the You Pick Produce, and what we kind of give like a 1-peck box, and then we just kind of said, hey, you can mix and match and pick anything that you'd like, and just kind of take that home with you. So a lot of people like to do, I think, for a lot of people it's the experience, but here, for the You Cut flowers, we offer that in a bouquet. So basically it's you just kind of take a jar, and you can kind of mix and match and put whatever flowers in and make it your own.
And it's not just any jar, it's a mason jar.
It's a mason jar, yeah. It's a mason jar. So there's, like I said, there's probably 6 or 7 varieties of these sunflowers. We have another, I think there's probably 40 or 50 different varieties of other, types of cut flowers.
Anybody that knows me knows that I absolutely love the sunflower. It is my favorite flower by far. I use it at home when I'm decorating. I love it. It is one of God's most beautiful creations. The other thing that I absolutely love is being a part of rural revitalization. And one of the keys in rural revitalization is you have to create a destination. And that is exactly what this farm is doing. They have created a destination where people can come and bring their families, take pictures, lasting memories. They can come and pick produce. They can even take a mason jar and pick their own flowers. That is rural America at its core. And by diversifying their farm, it's rural revitalization. It's creating a destination. It's creating an excitement for people to want to come to the country, experience this simple life that is so amazing. I would just encourage everyone to make sure that if they absolutely have the chance, to get here and visit this farm when they can.
Maybe means, summer and country, and it just kind of has maybe more of a meaning than just its beauty. But yeah, they are beautiful.
I think the theme of this episode is paying attention. Pay attention to God's beauty. It might lead you to saving one of his most magnificent creatures, the monarch butterfly. Pay attention to our small towns. It might lead you to saying, look, we have a problem here. We need to revitalize. And how about we use a mural or art to lift that small town up? Pay attention while you're on the rural route, because what could happen? It could lead you to a beautiful sunflower trail. That's what happens when you pay attention and you're on the rural route.